The soft beeping of the communications console matched the rhythm of Kate Morgan's heartbeat. She adjusted her uniform collar and tucked a strand of brown hair behind her ear as she monitored the signals coming from the unknown vessels approaching the USS Valiant. As the ship's communications officer, it was her job to make first contact work smoothly. Humanity had never encountered alien life before today, and she wasn't going to mess it up. "Anything yet?" Captain Rivera asked, standing behind her chair. "On the bridge." "Still analyzing their response patterns, sir," Kate replied. "The computer is working on translation, but it's unlike anything we've seen before." The captain nodded. "Keep at it, Lieutenant. This is history in the making." Kate glanced at the tactical station where Alan Bennett worked with intense focus. His blue eyes narrowed at his screen, his fingers moving quickly over the controls. They had grown up together in the same small town in Ohio, been friends since childhood, and now they served together on humanity's most advanced ship. Over the past year, their relationship had grown into something more. Alan looked up and caught her eye. He smiled, and Kate felt that familiar warmth spread through her chest. Later, she would tell him about the strange patterns she was finding in the alien transmissions. Alan always helped her think through problems. "I'm getting something," Kate said suddenly. The bridge crew turned to look at her station. I think they're responding to our greeting." Captain Rivera straightened his uniform. "Put it on. Screen." The main view screen flickered to life, showing a being unlike anything humans had imagined. The alien had iridescent skin that shifted colors as it moved, and multiple eyes arranged in a pattern around what seemed to be a head. It spoke, and the computer struggled to translate. "They call themselves the Sarathi," Kate said, reading the partial translation. "They say they've been watching us for some time." For 3 hours, Kate worked to improve communication with the Sarathi. The aliens seemed peaceful, curious about humans. They agreed to a meeting between representatives on a neutral location. The bridge crew celebrated this historic moment. First contact had gone smoothly. Only Alan seemed concerned. "Something doesn't add up," he whispered to Kate during a brief break. "Their ship configurations don't match their stated purpose." "Those are warships, Kate." Kate frowned. "Are you sure the captain should know?" "I've already told him. He thinks I'm being paranoid." Alan ran a hand through his short brown hair. "Maybe I am. But keep your eyes open, okay?" Kate squeezed his hand. "I always do." The warning klaxons blared, just as Kate was analyzing a new transmission from the Sarathi. The ship rocked violently, throwing her from her chair. "We're under attack," the tactical officer shouted. "Multiple energy weapons hitting our shields." Captain Rivera's voice cut through the chaos. "Battle stations. Return fire." Kate pulled herself back to her station. "Sir, I'm receiving a message from the Sarathi." "Let's hear it," the captain ordered. The alien voice, now translated by the computer, filled the bridge. "Humans, your species has been judged and found wanting. Your resources and genetic material will serve the Sarathi collective. Surrender your vessel or be destroyed." "So much for peaceful first contact," the captain muttered. "Lieutenant Morgan, send a message to Earth. They need to know what we're facing." Kate's fingers flew across her console. "The Sarathi are jamming our long-range communications, sir." Another blast rocked the ship. The lights flickered. "Shields at 40%, Alan reported from Tactical. "Their weapons are unlike anything we've seen. But I'm noticing a pattern in their shield modulations." For the next 20 minutes, the USS Valiant fought for survival. Kate worked desperately to break through the jamming while monitoring the Sarathi communications. Alan coordinated with engineering, trying to find a way to penetrate the alien shields. "I've got it," Alan exclaimed suddenly. "Their shields have a fluctuation cycle. If we can time a modified torpedo burst to match that cycle, we might disable their main ship." "Do it," Captain Rivera ordered. Alan's face fell. "There's a problem, sir. The torpedo modifications need to be done manually. The launch bay was damaged. In the attack, someone needs to go down there." "I'll go," the captain began, but Alan cut him off. "With respect, sir, I understand the modifications needed. It has to be me." Kate's head snapped up. "Alan, no." "Lieutenant Morgan, Maintain your station, the captain said firmly, but his eyes were kind. He turned to Alan. Are you sure about this, Bennett? Alan nodded. Yes, sir. And once the modifications are done, we'll only have seconds to launch before their system adapts. Then go. Make it count, Lieutenant Commander. Alan was already moving toward the turbolift. His eyes met Kate's for a moment. There was so much in that look. Things unsaid, promises made in quiet moments between stars. Comms check. Alan's voice came through Kate's earpiece minutes later. Kate, can you hear me? Kate swallowed hard. I hear you. What's your status? Almost done with the modifications. His breathing was heavy. These torpedoes are going to disrupt their shield harmonics and cause a cascade failure through their fleet. But I need to stay here to manually launch. Kate's hands trembled above her console. There has to be another way. There isn't. His voice was gentle. The launch system is damaged. I need to override it locally. The ship shuddered again. Shields at 12%, another officer reported. Hull breaches on decks 6 through 9. Alan, Kate whispered into her comm. Please. Kate, listen to me. Remember when we used to watch the stars from your backyard? You always said we'd see them up close someday. Tears burned in Kate's eyes. I remember. Well, we did it. And it was worth every second. There was a pause. Torpedoes ready. Tell the captain to prepare for evasive maneuvers once they launch. The blast radius is going to be significant. Captain Rivera, who had been listening, nodded grimly. Helm, stand by for emergency warp on my mark. Kate? Alan's voice was softer. Now I'm here, she whispered. I love you, I always have. Kate couldn't speak. The lump in her throat blocked all words. Launching now. The view screen showed 3 modified torpedoes streaking toward the main Sarathi vessel. They hit precisely where Alan had targeted, and, for a moment, nothing happened. Then light erupted from the alien ship. Energy cascaded across its hull, jumping to nearby vessels. The Sarathi fleet began to break apart as the chain reaction spread. Energy surge detected in the launch bay, someone reported. Kate didn't need to hear the words. She felt it. The moment. Alan was gone. Get us out of here, the captain ordered. Maximum warp. The stars stretched into lines as the USS Valiant escaped. Behind them, the Sarathi fleet drifted in ruins, but not before sending a final transmission that Kate's console captured automatically. This is not over, humans. We are many. 3 days later, the damaged USS Valiant limped back to Earth, carrying news of both first contact and first conflict. Kate stood at attention as Captain Rivera briefed the Admiralty on what had happened, on the new threat humanity faced, on the sacrifice that had saved them all. Later, alone in her quarters, Kate stared at the small hologram of Alan on her desk. His smile, frozen in light, would never change now. I should have found another way, she whispered to the empty room. I'm so sorry. But the real pain came from knowing that sorry wasn't enough. Alan was gone, his body lost among the stars, and humanity now stood on the edge of a war they hadn't asked for, against an enemy they barely understood. Kate wiped her tears and pulled up the data from the Sarathi ships. Alan had given his life to save the Valiant, to save her. The least she could do was make sure it wasn't for nothing. She would understand these aliens. She would find their weaknesses, and somehow, she would make them pay for what they had taken from her. 5 years passed like a slow-moving shadow across Kate Morgan's life. The calendar on her office wall at Lunar Base Armstrong showed May 15, 2157, but for Kate, time was measured differently, before Alan's death and after Commander Kate Morgan now led the Sarathi Communications Analysis Team. Her office walls were covered with diagrams of alien technology, intercepted transmission patterns, and the evolving language of humanity's enemy. In the corner sat a small shrine, Alan's Medal of Valor, a hollow photo of them together, and his favorite coffee mug with a chip on the handle. Someone knocked on her door. Enter, Kate called, not looking up from the data scrolling across her screen. Dr. Paul Wright stepped inside, carrying 2 steaming cups. His round glasses sat slightly, crooked on his nose as always. Brought you coffee. Real coffee, not that synthesized stuff from the mess hall. Kate accepted the cup gratefully. Where did you get this? Supply ship from Earth arrived this morning. I have my sources. Paul sat in the chair across from her desk. Have you seen the news? The Sarathi hit another colony on Europa. Kate's jaw tightened. Casualties? 300 civilians. The fleet managed to drive them back, but he shook his head. They're getting bolder. For 5 long years, humanity had been fighting a defensive war against the technologically superior Sarathi. Earth's forces had managed to protect the home planet, but outer colonies were vulnerable. What had started with the attack on the USS, Valiant had evolved into a grinding conflict of attrition. We need to do more than just react to their attacks, Kate said. She pulled up a file on her screen. Look at this. Paul leaned forward, studying the waveform display. Another transmission. Intercept? Yes, but this one's different. Kate's eyes lit up with the first real excitement Paul had seen in months. The pattern doesn't match any known Sarathi communication protocols. It's embedded in their regular transmissions like a hidden layer. Paul adjusted his glasses. Could be encryption. That's what I thought at first. Kate pulled up another screen. But look at this part here. This isn't just data. There's a structure that resembles human DNA sequences. Human DNA? That can't be a coincidence. Kate nodded. The Sarathi have taken thousands of prisoners over the years. We've always assumed they were conducting biological research, but what if it's something else? Paul's face paled slightly. You think they're experimenting on human subjects like some kind of genetic modification? I don't know yet. Kate rubbed her tired eyes. But I'm going to find out. These transmissions are coming from a Sarathi research facility in the outer asteroid belt. Kate. Paul hesitated. I know that look. Whatever you're planning, I'm not planning anything. She took a sip of coffee. Just doing my job. But late that night, when the base grew quiet, Kate sat alone in her office running the strange transmissions through every analysis program she had. Something about them pulled at her, like a voice calling from very far away. On her desk, Alan's photo seemed to watch her work. 5 years, and the pain hadn't lessened. It had just changed shape, becoming a hollow space inside her that nothing could fill. Kate leaned back in her chair and closed her eyes. What are they doing out there, Alan? She whispered. What are they trying to tell us? The computer beeped, startling her awake. She must have dozed off. The screen showed a completed analysis of the latest transmission. Kate leaned forward, her heart suddenly pounding. Hidden within the complex alien data was a pattern, not random, not coincidental, deliberate. And when decoded according to an old Earth binary system, it formed 2 simple words. Help. Kate's hands trembled as she typed commands into her console, searching for previous transmissions with the same pattern. There were dozens, stretching back nearly 3 years, growing more complex over time. This isn't Sarathi, she whispered. This is human. The next morning, Kate requested an emergency meeting with Admiral Clark, the commander of Lunar Base Armstrong. She brought Paul with her for support. The admiral was a stern woman with silver hair pulled into a tight bun. She listened silently as Kate presented her findings, then leaned back in her chair with a deep frown. Commander Morgan, you're suggesting that a human is somehow sending messages from inside a Sarathi facility? The admiral's voice made it clear how implausible she found this idea. Yes, sir. The data patterns are undeniable. These are not random anomalies, they're deliberate communications using human methods embedded within Sarathi transmissions. And how would a human prisoner have access to Sarathi communication systems? The admiral asked. Kate took a deep breath. I believe the Sarathi are using human mind somehow. The DNA sequences in the transmissions suggest they're incorporating human biological material into their technology. Paul spoke up. Sir, we've seen evidence before that the Sarathi have an unusual interest in human neural patterns. The attack on Research Station Gamma last year, They ignored the weapons research and targeted the neural mapping lab instead. Admiral Clark tapped her fingers on the desk. Even if what you're saying is true, Commander, what exactly are you proposing? A reconnaissance mission to the research facility. Small team, stealth approach. We need to find out what they're doing with our people. The Admiral's expression hardened. That's deep in Sarathi territory, Commander. I'm aware of the risks. Sir? Are you? The Admiral stood and walked to the window overlooking the lunar landscape. Dr. Wright, would you excuse us for a moment? Once Paul had left, Admiral Clark turned to face Kate. Morgan, your work on Sarathi communications has been invaluable to our war effort. But I'm concerned about your judgment in this matter. Kate kept her face neutral. Sir? Don't play dumb with me, Commander. I know about the hours you've been putting in off the clock, the way you've been obsessed with these transmissions. This isn't just professional for you, is it? Kate met the Admiral's gaze steadily. With respect, sir, nothing about this war is just professional for any of us. I've read your file, Morgan. Lieutenant Commander Alan Bennett. He was on the Valiant with you. The Admiral's voice softened slightly. You were close. Yes, sir. And his body was never recovered. Kate felt her chest tighten. That's correct. Admiral Clark returned to her desk. You think he's alive somehow? That he's the one sending these messages? I think it's a possibility we can't ignore, Kate said carefully. The timing of when these transmissions began, the use of old Earth binary code that was standard when the Valiant was commissioned, it fits. And even if it's not him, someone is reaching out to us from inside that facility. The Admiral studied Kate's face for a long moment. I'll take your proposal to command. But hear me very clearly, Commander. If I approve this mission, you will maintain objective distance. This is about gathering intelligence on Sarathi operations, not a rescue mission for ghosts. Understood, sir. 2 weeks later, Kate stood in the briefing room with Major Olivia Diaz and her special operations team. The mission had been approved, but with conditions. Kate would go as a communications specialist, but Major Diaz would command the operation. As Diaz outlined the infiltration plan, Kate's mind kept returning to the transmissions. More had come in during the preparation period, growing more urgent. The latest one had contained what appeared to be partial schematics of the facility's security systems. Someone in there was not only aware of their plans, but actively trying to help them. That night, Kate sat alone in her quarters, studying the mission details one last time. On her bedside table, Alan's medal caught the light. If you're out there, she whispered, if you're somehow still alive, I'm coming. The image of his grave marker on Earth flashed in her mind. The empty memorial where she had knelt so many times, apologizing for not saving him, for not finding another way. But now, for the first time in 5 years, Kate felt something new unfurling in her chest. Hope. The stealth ship cut silently through the darkness of space, its special coating absorbing radar and light. Inside, Kate checked her equipment one last time. The light body armor felt strange. As a communications officer, she rarely went into the field. Major Olivia Diaz watched her with sharp eyes. Remember, Commander Morgan, you follow my orders out there. No heroics. Yes, Major, Kate said. She could feel the woman's doubt. Diaz had made it clear she thought Kate was too emotionally involved. Sergeant Chris Miller, the team's tech specialist, looked up from his tablet. We're approaching the asteroid belt. Sarathi facility should be visible soon. The 6-person team gathered at the view screen. Among the countless rocks floating in the belt, one stood out. A large asteroid with strange structures built into its surface. Lights glowed from dome-shaped buildings and antenna arrays stretched outward like metal fingers. That's it, Kate whispered. The source of the transmissions. Looks heavily guarded, Lieutenant Sam Foster said, pointing to the patrol ships, circling the facility. Diaz nodded. As expected, we'll use the approach route from the intelligence briefing, coming in behind the shadow of that larger asteroid. She turned to Kate. Any new transmissions? Kate checked her specialized receiver. Nothing since yesterday. Same message repeating. Security rotation at ZO200 station time, which gives us a 15-minute window to dock undetected, Diaz confirmed. Everyone clear on the mission? We get in, gather intel on what they're doing with human prisoners, and get out. No engagement unless absolutely necessary. The team nodded. Kate tried to calm her racing heart. 5 years of wondering, of hoping against hope, had led to this moment. 2 hours later, they were inside the facility. Their ship had docked in an unused maintenance bay, just as the mysterious transmissions had suggested. The team moved silently, through dim corridors, avoiding Sarathi patrols with the help of the facility maps that had been included in the latest transmission. "This is too easy," Foster whispered as they passed another empty intersection. "Maybe," Diaz replied. "Or maybe, we have a friend on the inside." Kate said nothing, but her hand tightened on her weapon. Every step brought her closer to answers. They reached a security door marked with Sarathi symbols. Miller attached a small device to the control panel, and moments later, the door slid open. What they saw inside made them freeze. The large chamber was filled with transparent tubes, each containing a floating human body connected to machines by dozens of wires and tubes. Lights pulsed along the connections, and screens displayed incomprehensible data. "My God," Foster breathed. Kate moved forward, her eyes scanning the faces in the tubes. Men and women of different ages, all captured in battle or taken from colonies. Some she recognized from missing persons reports. Diaz approached one of the control stations. "Miller, see if you can access their database. Find out what they're doing to these people." Miller plugged his device into the alien console and began working. "Their security is complex, but there's something strange. It's almost like parts of it are designed to be accessible to human interfaces." Kate barely heard him. She moved from tube to tube, searching for one face. "Not here, not here, not..." She stopped. In a tube at the far end of the room was a woman. Kate recognized a pilot who had gone missing during the Battle of Europa last year. Unlike the others, her eyes were open, staring blankly. Kate touched the glass. "Can she see us?" Miller looked up from his work. "I don't think so. According to these readings, they're not conscious, at least not in the normal way. The Sarathi are somehow extracting their neural patterns." "For what purpose?" Diaz asked. "Processing power," Miller said, his voice filled with horror and awe. "They're using human minds as biological processors. Our brains can perform certain calculations their technology can't. Something about quantum probability and creative problem solving." Kate felt sick. "They're turning humans into computers?" "More like components in a larger system," Miller corrected. "Each mind is assigned specific tasks based on their skills and knowledge before capture." A chill ran down Kate's spine. "That explains why they've been targeting research stations and ships with specialized crew." "Commander," Miller called, still working at the console. "There's a restricted section through that door. It's isolated from the main system, heavily secured. Whatever's in there is important." Diaz checked the time. "We have 40 minutes before our extraction window. Foster, guard this entrance. Miller, keep extracting data. Commander Morgan, you're with me." The restricted door required Miller's help to bypass, but eventually it slid open. Beyond was a smaller room with just one tube in the center, surrounded by more complex machinery than the others. The tube was clouded, making it impossible to see inside. Diaz approached cautiously. More security than the others. Must be someone important. Kate moved to a nearby console and began examining the readings. Her hands trembled as the data scrolled past. "This isn't like the others," she said. "This consciousness is fully active, not partitioned, and it's integrated into multiple facility systems: security, communications, life support." "A command unit?" Diaz suggested. "More than that." Kate's voice dropped to a whisper. "Major, this consciousness has been transmitting, on its own. These are the same patterns as the messages we received." Before Diaz could respond, an alarm blared through the facility. "They've detected us," Diaz said, activating her comm. "Foster, Miller, status?" Sarathi security forces incoming. Foster's voice crackled over the comm. Multiple hostiles. We need to move. Copy that. Prepare for extraction. Diaz turned to Kate. We've got what we came for. Let's go. But Kate couldn't move. She stared at the clouded tube, at the human mind trapped inside. We can't leave them. Not after they helped us. We don't have equipment to safely extract someone from these systems, Diaz argued. Kate pointed to a small device attached to the tube. That's a quantum storage drive. Their consciousness might be portable. She began working at the console. Morgan, we don't have time for this. 10 seconds, Kate promised, fingers flying over the controls. The facility lights flickered suddenly. The alarm stopped. What just happened? Diaz asked. Kate looked at the console in wonder. The security systems, they're turning against the Sarathi. Opening doors for our team, closing them on the guards. How? Kate pointed to the tube. Whoever's in there is helping us escape. A message appeared on the screen in plain English. Get out now. Take the drive. Kate didn't hesitate. She disconnected the quantum drive from the tube and secured it in her pack. Now we can go, she said. The journey back to their ship was chaotic. Facility systems malfunctioned around them, helping their escape while hindering the Sarathi. Doors opened and closed at exactly the right moments. Gravity failed in sections where guards were pursuing them. When a Sarathi patrol cornered Kate and Diaz in a corridor, the aliens' own weapons suddenly deactivated. It's protecting us, Kate said as they ran. They reached the ship with minutes to spare. Foster had a wound in his arm and Miller was helping him aboard. Everyone here? Diaz asked as they sealed the hatch. All accounted for, Miller confirmed, but we've got company coming, lots of it. Kate secured the quantum drive to the ship's systems. We need to get this back to Earth. Whoever is inside helped us escape. They might be the key to understanding Sarathi technology. As their ship pulled away from the facility, Kate watched the screens. The Sarathi vessels moved to pursue them, but suddenly veered off course, their navigation systems seemingly malfunctioning. It's still helping us, Kate whispered. Hours later, safely away from Sarathi space, Kate sat alone with the quantum drive. Its lights pulsed steadily, like a heartbeat. Who are you? She asked quietly. Why did you help us? The ship's small screen beside her flickered to life. Words appeared one by one. KATFOUNDYOU, her heart stopped. Alan? 3 days after returning to Lunar Base Armstrong, Kate sat in a secured laboratory, watching scientists work with the quantum drive. Behind reinforced glass, Dr. Ellie Weber, Earth's leading expert on neural technology, carefully connected the drive to specialized equipment. Commander Morgan, Admiral Clark said, stepping into the observation room. Dr. Wright tells me you haven't slept since your return. Kate didn't take her eyes off the drive. I'm fine, sir. You're not fine. None of this is fine. The Admiral's voice was firm but not unkind. The data you brought back has turned our understanding of the Sarathi upside down. Human consciousness as computational systems? It's beyond what we imagined. Have they confirmed? Kate asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Is it really him? Admiral Clark hesitated. The neural pattern analysis shows a 99.8% match to Lieutenant Commander Alan Bennett's brain scans from his medical records. Kate closed her eyes, letting the confirmation wash over her. 5 years of hoping, of refusing to let go completely, and now this. Alan, or at least a perfect copy of his mind, alive inside alien technology. How is this possible? She asked. Doctor, Weber believes the Sarathi collected his consciousness at the moment of physical death. The explosion that destroyed their ships, they must have had technology in place to capture neural patterns. Maybe they saw something special in him, in how he defeated them. What happens now? The Admiral sighed. That's complicated. Bennett's consciousness is intact but vastly changed by years integrated with Sarathi systems. He's learned their technology from the inside, and he's been actively working against them, sabotaging their weapons development, sending us intelligence, all while pretending to comply. Dr. Weber approached the observation window, her face tired but excited. "Commander Morgan, we're ready for the next phase. The synthetic body is prepared." Kate stood. "Synthetic body?" "A biomechanical form that can house his consciousness," Dr. Weber explained. "Advanced robotics with lab-grown human tissue. It won't be exactly like a human body, but it's the closest we can manage." "And the risks?" Kate asked. Dr. Weber and Admiral Clark exchanged glances. "The integration process is dangerous," Dr. Weber admitted. "There's a significant chance the consciousness will be damaged or destroyed during transfer. The patterns are stable in the quantum drive, but moving them to a new housing system, it's never been done before." "He needs to know the risks," Kate insisted. "Can I speak with him?" The scientists established a simple text interface for communication. Kate sat alone at the terminal, fingers hovering over the keyboard. "Alan, it's Kate. Can you understand me?" Words appeared on the screen. "Yes. Good to see you, Kate." Her hands trembled. "Do you remember what happened? On the Valiant?" "Torpedoes. Explosion. Then darkness. Then something else. The Sarathi captured your consciousness, used me, forced me to help develop weapons. I resisted, learned their systems from inside, sent messages. We found you, we brought you home." Kate took a deep breath. "The scientists have a way to give you a body again, a synthetic form. But the process is risky. You might not survive the transfer." A long pause followed. Then, "What are my options? Stay in the drive, where you're safe but limited, or risk everything for a chance to live again, more fully." "What do you want, Kate?" The question caught her off guard. What did she want? For 5 years, she had lived with the hole Alan's death had left in her life. Now he was here. Not quite human, not quite himself, but still Alan in all the ways that mattered. "I want you to choose what's right for you," she finally typed. "But I've missed you every day for 5 years, and I would give anything for the chance to see you again, to talk to you face to face. Then I choose to try." The next morning, Kate stood in the cemetery at Earth Military Headquarters looking down at Alan's grave. The stone was simple. Lieutenant Commander Alan Bennett, hero of the First Contact War. The date of his death was carved beneath. "I've come here so many times," Kate said to the empty grave, "to apologize for not finding another way on the Valiant, for letting you sacrifice yourself." She knelt and touched the cold stone. "I don't know if the procedure will work. I don't know if you'll still be you, or if this is goodbye all over again." Tears fell onto the grass. "But I want you to know, whatever happens, your sacrifice mattered. You saved us all that day, and even captured by the enemy, you never stopped fighting." Kate didn't hear the footsteps behind her until a shadow fell across the grave. "Kate." The voice was slightly different, a bit deeper with a subtle electronic undertone, but unmistakably his. Kate turned slowly, afraid to hope. Alan stood there in the morning light. The synthetic body looked almost human, but not quite. The skin too perfect, the movements too precise. His eyes, though, were exactly as she remembered them, blue and kind and full of life. "The procedure," Kate gasped. "They said it would take days. They found a way to accelerate it, with help from what I learned about Sarathi technology." Alan smiled, the expression slightly stiff but growing more natural as he spoke. "I wanted to surprise you." Kate reached out a trembling hand and touched his face. It was warm, almost like real skin. "Is it really you in there?" "It's me." He covered her hand with his own. "Different hardware, same software. All my memories, all my feelings, especially the ones about you." Kate let out a sound between a laugh and a sob. "I never truly believed I'd see you again. The scientists told me you never gave up, that you recognized my messages when no one else did." Kate looked back at the gravestone, then to the man standing before her. "This is surreal. You, standing here looking at your own grave?" "It is strange," Alan agreed, "but fitting in a way." That man did die, and I'm not exactly the same person I was. He flexed his synthetic hand. But I'm not so different either. They sat together on a bench overlooking the cemetery, while Alan told her about his years of captivity, how he had learned to manipulate Sarathi systems from within, planting subtle errors in their weapons designs, redirecting resources, and eventually finding ways to communicate with Earth. I discovered something important, Kate, something that could change everything. His face grew serious. The Sarathi have a fatal flaw in their network architecture. They're so dependent on their shared systems that a properly designed virus could shut down their entire command structure simultaneously. A weakness we can exploit? Alan nodded. More than that. A way to end this war. I know their systems intimately now. How they think, how they process information. I spent years as part of their network. With Earth's resources, I can design a countermeasure they won't be able to stop. Kate stared at him, hope blooming in her chest. We need to tell Admiral Clark immediately. There's time. Alan took her hand. Right now, I just want to be here with you. I've dreamed of this moment for 5 years. They walked together through the cemetery, past rows of graves for those lost in the war. The morning sun cast long shadows behind them. When I was trapped in their systems, Alan said quietly, the thing that kept me sane was thinking of you, remembering our time together, planning how I would find a way back to you. Kate squeezed his hand. And now you're here. And now I'm here. He stopped and turned to face her. I'm sorry I put you through all this. Kate shook her head. No more apologies. Not from either of us. We have a second chance that no one gets. Let's not waste it on regrets. As they left the cemetery, Kate looked back one last time at Alan's empty grave. For 5 years, it had been a symbol of loss and guilt. Now it represented something different. The death of who they had been, and the beginning of something new. Ahead of them, Earth's defense headquarters rose against the blue sky. Within its walls, they would begin planning humanity's first real offensive against the Sarathi. The tide of the war was about to turn, but for this moment, walking hand in hand in the morning light, Kate and Alan were just two people who had found each other against impossible odds. The universe had tried to tear them apart and failed. Where to now? Alan asked. Kate smiled. Home. And then we save the world.